Welcome to the deep dive session on agriculture. This session will feature key policymakers and private sector players. The panel will be moderated by Mr. Samantha Ranatunga, Director of Remedium 1. Samantha, over to you.
Good morning from Sri Lanka. Welcome to the session on agriculture at the Sri Lanka Investment Forum 2021. Agriculture is a topic which is synonymous with Sri Lanka. It goes back nearly 2,000 years where we started as a country as an agrarian civilization. From there, I think our first investment in agriculture came with the colonization, where the plantation industry by the Dutch and the British took on and took over. And today we have over 1 million hectares under plantation crops. We have moved on from there to value addition in paddy and into many other crops like rubber, coconut, spices, then many other crops of new technologies. Why Sri Lanka as an agriculture destination? Many reasons. Availability of land, arable land, the adaptability of technology amongst a population of people who are educated as well as literate. We have a landowning class of farmers who are who can be adapted to technology, which means that it's an ideal destination for outgrowers. We also have some of the new policies which have come up, which is the government has recently introduced organic friendly policies, where it is a welcoming destination for any investor who is interested in organic farming. Also, in new areas that investments have come up, like marrying artificial intelligence into agriculture. All these and more is possible in Sri Lanka. Another, I think, a fact which has been mentioned over and over again on Sri Lanka is the location. As a country, we are a geographically compact country with easy access to ports as well as airports. And location in the world means that we have easy access, direct access to some of the most discerning markets like Europe, Middle East, and Far East, which can be primary recipients of our products. To discuss this and much more, I have a very experienced panel who is here with us today. And I'll start to my right, Jayanti Dharmasena, who is the Managing Director of Haley's Agribusinesses. She is also the first woman director on a board of prestigious Haley's Group, which is a 140-year-old group. And she is in charge of agriculture and has brought top quality agricultural products to the international chains like McDonald's and also to very discerning markets like Japan. Then we have Dr. Ajanta De Silva, who is one of the architects of the new agriculture policy that is there for primary for food security as well as for investment promotion. So he is the additional secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture and overlooks that part of technology. Then we have Dr. Roshan Rajudare, a veteran planter who started his life as a tea planter, but now he is a PhD and a DSc in agriculture and management. He's also been the former president of the Ceylon Planter Society, which is an apex body for the planting community. Then we have Mr. Binesh Pananvela, who is again over 30 years experience in the plantation industry and who has for a very long time been involved in agriculture of Sri Lanka, as well as he is also the vice president of the Sri Lanka Dairy Association, which is one of the new investment areas that is gaining ground in Sri Lanka. So that's our panel, and I think we can have a very interesting discussion starting off today. My first question is to Dr. Ajanta De Silva. Dr. Ajanta, as you have been a key member of the policy making, the new policies of Sri Lanka, I would like you to explain to the audience what are the new policy changes that have happened in the recent past which has made Sri Lanka an interesting and an investment destination for agriculture?
Yeah. Now, if you take the Sri Lankan agriculture, as you correctly, started the discussion, so it is, our historical and of course, so we were doing agriculture for many years, our ancestors were doing it, and of course, we had the land, and the other thing, we should see that we have a very good diverse environment, because we have set for 46 agroecological regions where we can do many things. So therefore, we have a very good potential for the agriculture to grow and prosperous in Sri Lanka, especially because we have the land, and if you take the cost of production also, it is comparably lower in most of if you compare the other areas. So with that one, so we wanted to, as the ministry, wanted to have a national agriculture policy for the country, which is really, to see whether all the agricultural sector affairs will go online with that one. So there we have identified 10 thematic areas, and we have identified 15 policy statements for that to implement that one in the field. So of course, with the government interventions now, as you all know, the government is trying to move out from the chemical fertilizer scenario for the agriculture and to have the organic agriculture in this area, the whole Sri Lanka. So it all shows that there's big potential coming from the outside market, all the products which are going to produce in Sri Lanka will be in organic nature. So there we all know that this big market is all over in Europe, all the other countries as well, for the organically grown products. So that market is there. So that is really a good policy initiative that, as we say, even it is a little, we have to do more things for that one, but still this will give more opportunities to the Sri Lanka to have more organically grown, especially if you take the spice sector. So people like it, and we are doing many other crops as well. Now, if you take the food security, of course, we are secured. Food security is the prime target when it comes to the Ministry of Agriculture. There we are now thinking to fulfill the requirements of our carbohydrate requirement, and then of course the animal protein also, we have to see whether the livestock sector is looking after that one. And then of course the other oil and all that, we have to see whether the Sri Lanka can provide the required amount to Sri Lankan communities, and if there's anything extra, we want to go for export market. So there we see there are lots of opportunities, because the value addition is a primary thing that we want to get people, the investment from outside, and get the primary products into secondary and have a very good price for the products of agriculture. And then of course, so we are thinking of mechanization, mechanizing the agriculture, especially to reduce the cost of production, and because of labor also now shifting from the agriculture to the other sides. So therefore, we want to improve that with the mechanization. So there we have a very good demand. And of course, if you take the other things like, the fertilizer, now we are trying to move from the chemical fertilizers to organic based fertilizers and organic plant protection systems. So there we have a very huge vacuum for the people to come and invest. So like that, we have already in the National Agriculture Policy also, we have identified having people, public-private partnerships for the agriculture, and then to give some, the investment support from the government side, and then to give some tax holidays if there's anything from the through the parliamentary acts and all, and to support the people who are coming for agriculture to have a better platform for them to have a very good production system in Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Dr. Ajantala. My next question is to Dr. Roshan Rajadure. He's a veteran in the plantation industry. I think he has, moved into areas of skill development and also education in the recent past. But I think my first question to you would be on the plantations. What I would like to find out, Doctor, is your view on, because you have been associated with the plantations for the last 35 years. If you look at the two areas of diversification in agriculture and value addition to plantation products, where do you see opportunities from the international investors into the Sri Lankan economy?
Right. Thank you, Samantha. If you look at the plantation industry with our legacy of over 200 years, ever since coffee was planted in commercial scale in the central hills of Sri Lanka, we can proudly assert that we have a very good experience, expertise and skill in this area of large-scale plantation management. That is not to offset the fact that there is a lot of areas where diversification away from our core plantation crops can be invested on. Particularly, I am talking of the central hills where the large-scale plantations are located, and because of the comparatively smaller size of our country, and along with that we have varied topography and the landscape, so it lends itself to other crops other than tea, where tea has now become uneconomical over the years because of the ravages of time and climate change. First thing I can think of is as a fuel wood and forestry. We have large areas of land that are very suitable for commercial scale fuel wood, provided of course we follow all the strictures and recommendations that is applied in commercial forestry. Then we also have enough of land and skilled workers and educated staff and management cadre to do exotic fruit and vegetable cultivation, probably at commercial scale in large scale or under controlled greenhouse conditions. We can go in for flower projects, we can go for any other projects that can be commercially grown in any tropical country. As I mentioned at the outset, we have very skilled and experienced workforce and a management and a logistical system that can support any kind of a innovative and new crops into the system. Where we have a challenge is the value addition part in terms of these exotics. Because of the comparative small size of our population, we need to cater to an export market. So I think looking at the plantation landscape, there is ample opportunity, ample skill, ample land and ample logistical and managerial structure to start any type of diversification program. So I think I'll wait for some questions as to what specific crops, and that's my remit at the outset, Samantha.
Okay. So that's very interesting, because I think the slowly changing face of the tea plantation industry is what Dr. Roshan Rajadure pointed out, that how it's changing itself and it's changing its focus. My next question is to the lady in the panel, Ms. Jayanti Dharmasena. Jayanti, you had one of the most interesting areas of value addition in agriculture. You had an organization which basically deals with taking the Sri Lankan produce to some of the most discerning markets like Japan, as I said, and also taking products to international brands like McDonald's. It would have been a very challenging journey, and I want to know your experiences about it, because that's a first-hand look at what is possible from Sri Lanka. Your views, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Samantha. So it is actually it had been an interesting journey and a very rewarding journey, because not just only to Japan, but we also send to Europe and the US. But starting with Japan, we have been working with McDonald's for over 20 years, and everybody knows that, when you have global customers like McDonald's, they have a social accountability audit every year. So you really have to get your parameters all according to what they want. And every year we have been successful. That's why this long journey with McDonald's. And how we do this is we work with an outgrow model. And this, it's not just one outgrow model. Actually, regionally, we have several links, several outgrow links, because we produce so many different products. But I need to stress that why we actually have this successful outgrow model is because the country has majority of the farmers are smallholder farmers. So individually for them to get the certification and individually for them to actually scale up or look for global customers is not possible. But a company like us, if we can actually get the farmers together and build the cluster, then the whole chain benefits. It's a win-win from the global customer to the organization that is holding it together and also to the farmers. And the farmers are the actual, they truly benefit from this, because it's not that they grow anything and everything. These unstructured, smallholder farmers come into a very organized scheme where the whole production is market driven. They know what they have to grow, and they also know that the price they get, it's a guaranteed price. So the trust is there that when they put their 100% commitment to actually deliver the quality and the volumes, then the market is secure and their incomes are safe. And one of the things that I noticed during this journey is that the commitment of the farmers to try and outdo their previous, the records, because the volumes are better, the productivity is better, because they are part of the big picture. They know that they are the pillars of this entire value chain that, that connects with the global customer. So they move from a part-time farming to a committed full-time farming. And their incomes are guaranteed, their quality and productivity improves, and the fact that we can work with these clusters means that our logistical, the support is much more, effective, so the costs are lower. And also the way that we could even give them that knowledge, even the technology transfer. Dr. Ajantha was speaking about the mechanization and moving into modern agriculture. Actually, we work with the Ministry of Agriculture, and in the modernization project funded by the World Bank coming through the Agriculture Ministry, what they do is for the clusters, when they give, say, sprinkler systems and drip irrigation systems and all that, so the infrastructure is also then effectively used. It's not all over the place, so the entire region, the community benefits, and also the young farmers who, again, Dr. Ajantha was saying how they're moving away from agriculture, but when we do embrace the mechanization and the new modern practices and the GMP model, then the young farmers also come in. So there is some leadership that comes through it, and they become like, a society that they can actually ask for the price that for the commitment that they put into the whole system. And as an organization, we also can scale up because we know that these models are there and there is trust throughout the system. And when it comes to the global customer, say example McDonald's, they know the entire, there's transparency, and they consistently, that product is coming at the quality and the value that they want it to come. So that's how successful these models are.
Okay. I think I'll address the quality issue in the next round because that's, I think, something which is very important as far as what Sri Lanka can offer as a agri destination. My next question is to Binesh, actually. Binesh, you have again been nearly for 3 decades in the plantation sector. My first question to you is, you come from a group which is diversified even into overseas agriculture projects. But you have done recently significant investments into Sri Lanka. Any particular reason, with all facilities and attractions available for investments in other countries, what drives you back to Sri Lanka other than the fact that it's your own country?
Thank you, Samantha. I think, again, I think it comes to basically the demand and supply factor. So I think we have heard about the export segment, and also the other side of the flip side of it is the import substitution. So we have gone on that direction in meeting the local demands of maybe oil, and also now it's the dairy. So if you really look at these both segments, basically we are net importers of these both segments. So that's the reason that we have looked at the potential in the Sri Lankan market, what is available, what is required at this point in time. If I go a further step ahead basically on one segment, if you look at the dairy segment, Sri Lanka is a net import of milk to a tune of 64 billion LKR, Sri Lankan rupees. Then also that we produce only about, last year we did only about 38% of our total requirement. We need 1,200 million liters of milk per year, which has threefolded since 1980. But the production has not gone up to that level. But whereas in 1980s we have been 80%, we have been self-sufficient in our milk. So we have looked at in this angle, and the potential in the Sri Lankan context in this is much more greater to look at it in those segments. So if I go on the dairy side, basically the dairy, there are about 200,000 farmers or small farmers produce dairy, out of which about 85% is less than 5 animals. So in that context, the mega farms do only about 5%. So in order to meet that demand, we thought that we should get into that based on that supply and demand principle.
Okay, I think I'll come to you on the next round for I think more details on the dairy. I think my second round of questions I'll start with again with Dr. Ajanta. One other key destination for Sri Lanka is considered is for spices, and as a policy maker, where do you see because we have where do you see the journey for spices in Sri Lanka, and what type of investment environment is there from a policy point of view on bringing investments into spice value addition?
Now, especially if you take the spice industry and of course the spice sector in Sri Lanka, so it's of course a growing sector as I see, because now we have a very really unique spices actually originated from Sri Lanka, like especially the cinnamon silonicum, because it is a Sri Lankan origin one. So there the demand is there from the whole world, and the quality of that one is very good. So therefore the people really request from Sri Lanka for their supplies, but we are not really supplying the adequate amounts at this time. So if you take the other spices like vanilla and then the cardamom and all the others also, so we have a huge vacuum actually. So therefore the thing is now we are not really supplying for the demand, of course. Therefore with this quality, assured quality and the supply, so we will be able to fetch a very good market and a big volume. So therefore there is a huge potential for the investment in Sri Lanka for this sector. And at the same time, now just like what I was telling in the beginning, now the value addition part is left. So we can do many things on value addition, and value added products will get a very good price, as well as the quantities will be so we can match the quantities where they are requiring, and now there is a big demand from other countries for the value added products of spices. And the now the Department of Export Agriculture has done very good things in technical aspects, and now they have come up with some new good varieties which are really suitable for the diverse environments. So therefore, with the lands available, I think there is a good potential for the people to invest on that one and to get the better market in the outside. And the other things like now, they have also gone through the getting the GI, of course, cinnamon, and of course for the pepper, Sri Lanka. So that of course will have another added advantage for the people to invest on that one, because then there will be the GI one, which is geographically indexed one. So which is one of the we will have a little value addition on this, especially the in market side for that product. So in all aspects, so the spice sector of Sri Lanka has a very good potential, and the investment opportunities are there, and the expansion can be done at this time, and the government also will give the assistance for the investors, even from the local or from the outside, to have the partnerships with the government or either on their own to expand this sector.
Thank you, Dr. Ajanta. Going back to Dr. Roshan, Roshan, one, you have been, as much as a plant, you have been involved a lot in agriculture education and capacity building, and I think we have a nearly 500,000 labor force which works in the plantation sector, and there's always been earlier historically a lot of comebacks on whether they can be a added value force to us or not. I know there's a lot of work that you have done. Can you share some of your experiences of how you have been able to bring the plantation sector labor into the mainstream and as a contributing force to the agriculture development of Sri Lanka?
Right, thank you. I think Ceylon tea, without any doubt or without any debate, has a global recognition in the sense that we continue to get the highest prices in all global auctions in terms of dollar prices, and that is a manifestation of the customers or consumers' confidence, and that is the reason that Ceylon tea gets the highest price. Now, over the last 150 years of Ceylon tea, I am talking particularly in Ceylon tea, we have gone through many evolutions from the time the workers came as seasonal employees from India right up to the time now in Sri Lanka where we care for them. As we popularly say, from womb to the tomb, the workers have undergone a series of social changes. So what is important for us to realize here is there's a strong pull from outside the plantation area for our workforce, and it has become a requirement now that we empower and educate and upskill our workers. So towards this, I think, contrary to popular belief, all the plantations, large plantations, and even in the smallholders of Sri Lanka, where they contribute now almost 75% of our national production, there is a sustained and very well organized program of upgrading their skills, knowledge, and educational level, starting from the pluckers, because many things over the 150 years have changed in the industry, which has resulted in Sri Lankan tea plantation workers getting the highest wage by any standard in the tea economies. And as a result, our cost of production is far ahead of those other countries. But how we remain competitive is by producing the world's finest tea. So to do that, we need a really skilled and experienced workforce. And starting from the ground up, from the ordinary workers who are engaged in the fields, there's a continuous program of training and development, and mainly these trainings and upskilling is in situ because of the large size of the workforce that we manage. We have many train-the-trainer programs where we have invested in our staff, and they in turn go and train the workers, upgrade their knowledge and skill. And moving up the line, even our staff, we have many programs in consultation with the research institutes, the universities, where we have one-day workshop, even going up to the level of most of the companies having their own custom-made skill development and training programs, ending up with certificates. And of course, we have, with the help of the Chamber and with the Employees Federation or Ceylon, have gone in for National Vocational Training Certificates, which is a national accredited certificate. And over that, the managerial cadre, there are many programs that are done at the National Institute of Plantation Management, Research Institutes, then the Business Management Institutes, and even sending them for overseas training. The very popular destination has been Japan at AOTS, where they get modern managerial skills. And as a result of all this, I can confidently say that we are the most certified and most skilled workforce in the whole tea world. So much so that even with the highest wage, and because of geographical and other reasons, our productivity is low. But in spite of all this, we still remain very competitive and desired product in the world markets. So from the level of the ground operators up to the managerial level, there is a well-programmed, well-thought-out and a sustainable training and upskilling that is going on. So much so now there are degree programs, diploma programs for all levels of personnel involved in this business. And that is a driving force for people to add value to themselves and thereby in turn add value to the whole industry. That is how we remain competitive in the current global, highly competitive environment.
Yeah. So what you mean to say, Roshan, is that though our wages have been higher, that we have been, that our quality journey has been linked to education, investment into education and actually skilling up of the labor. Is that's what,
yes.
what you are inferring?
Not only the workers, we have reinforced the workers upgrading with that of the staff and the managerial cadre so that it is a total systems upgrade. And in terms of our technology in manufacture, field management, as he said, we have GAP certifications and we have GMP certifications, and we can confidently say, the most certified tea economy in the world.
Okay. Thank you, Roshan. My next question is again to Jayanti, going back to the journey that you talked about initially of to servicing the international markets. I want to dwell a little bit more into that subject.
Okay.
Because one of the key factors of Sri Lanka as I think a good, competitive destination for agriculture investment is the education level and the adaptability of technology amongst the farmers, and that we have a lot of land owning farmers who basically own their land, which means that it is ideal for outgrower systems. And so I think it's a twofold question. I want to know about the outgrower journey, and also the second aspect is, how did we make the outgrowers quality conscious to the level that made these products to be on the shelves of international markets? So it's a twofold question. What is it on outgrowers? What is the journey on making them to be quality conscious?
Yeah. So as I said, like the farmers are smallholder farmers, and you're right, Samantha, all of them will have either half an acre or 1 acre. But the beauty of this whole thing is, when you make an outgrower network, a cluster, what really works is, even when you transfer technology, it's easier to transfer technology to a area, a region where the efficiency of it actually can be seen, because it's not individually some farmer is somewhere else, or it's like even if that farmer is to grow something, the person doesn't know what to grow and which season, and even if there's a pest attack or there's a disease, they don't know how to get that information. So when you cluster them and you link through a complete chain, they know the exact requirement by them, and they are also willing to work together. Particularly, for example, now if the outgrower network is really working in the sense like, say there is a let's say mealybug in the pineapple plantations. I mean, if, for example, everybody finishes that growing of that particular variety, then the host plant is not there for that particular pest the next season, because there will be a crop rotation and something else is being grown. So all these can be done when the farmers are in a cluster, so that the people who are working with the network can actually help them and guide them, and also these farmers actually are willing to learn, because the point is that they know that they are part of this big global chain. So they also want to learn what is good. And when you are bringing in technology, when the whole cluster is using it, you actually have the efficiencies coming in, even cost wise. When it comes to everybody has to win in this chain, not just only the farmers, not only the global customer, it's the intermediate, the company that is holding it together. But even for that company, logistically it is more reliable, and also the fact that we can trust and get that produce that can be given to the global customer, and the global customer wants that transparency, so they can see straight down as to where it is coming from and who is doing it, whether child labor is used or not, and which is a very important thing for global customers, and also for Sri Lankans. We want children to be educated at the time that they have to go through education, not to be in the farm. So all these can be managed when you are in a link. As to how successful the second part of it is, and how these things are in the global shelf. Now, if you take even in the case of say a product like tender jackfruit, which is a substitute for meat eaters, right? The point is, there are so many farmers who have the product. But what is important is that they individually cannot get the certifications, nor can they go look around and find customers. So the three things that are absolutely necessary for the outgrower link to happen is that there has to be a guaranteed price. Nobody wants to put any effort if you don't know how much you are going to get. Secondly, it's that trust that you have, the reliability. When you work with a network and you know that your produce is going to a particular destination, they see the end destination, then they are committed to managing the standards that are required. And thirdly, it has always been consistent. Farmer incomes have to be consistently at that at a healthy level. If, for example, there's a extra volume, a bumper harvest, then it has to be bought by the company. So that is the security that they have. Of course, there are more points going into it, because the technology transfer, the education that we can actually give them, and also the fact that individual farmers want to actually do better than what their ancestors have been doing. So when new things are being given to them, even the young farmers know that this is a good practice and a field to be in. So all those things coming together, and in Sri Lanka, these farmers have now got the knowledge. These farmers are willing to work in the global market, and these farmers also know the requirement to go with GAP. So that, Samantha, is a big boost for anybody who wants to work with Sri Lanka, because the produce can be taken with trust.
Okay. Thank you, Jayanti. I think my next question is, some of this ground was covered, Binesh, earlier, but I would like you to, because as you are the Vice President of the Sri Lanka Dairy Association, and we talked about the gap of supply and demand, and that's the thing that you would want to address. I want to just for you to give some of the experiences of, because you have been investing heavily into technology in the field of dairy. I want you to give your experiences of your journey, and how can this be an interesting destination for dairy industry for potential investors?
Thank you. I think the dairy industry in this country, as I mentioned before, it has a huge potential. So it's again, as I mentioned, on the demand and supply, that even if you look at the per capita consumption, Sri Lanka consume only about 55 milliliters of dairy per day, whereas in the world standard it's about 110, and our neighboring country India, it's about 300 milliliters that they consume per day. So in that context, there is huge potential to improve in that sphere of that value-added products and different dairy products coming in to improve that, so the demand will always go up. So again, as I mentioned before, that the supply is not matching up to that level. So that's the reason that we have gone into this dairy project. It is now about 3 years that we are running at full capacity. So in order to match that, the 1,200 million liters of milk volume what we require for this country, and what we produce, that 38%, which is about 460 million liters per annum, to bridge that gap, I think that's where the potential is, that in order to get it going. And also that in the Sri Lankan context, currently we get a very good price for the milk at the producers level in the upstream, I must say. But mostly the investments thereafter has to come in the downstream operation in adding value. So upstream context, within 9%, the mega farms which are producing about 9%, has a capacity to increase. So these what the government is also supporting, to invest into upstream dairy farming, with coming up with larger farms. So in around that, only a farm cannot come up. It has to have the other ancillary support which has to come. So there is a lot of investment opportunities. If you look at it in terms of the mega farm culture, Sri Lanka is like more of, I would say, we are a little primitive in terms of securing our fodder, the pasture. Still some of these, the feed, the material what is required, we have to still import. But in this, the current context, we are meeting with the local feed what is available in order to meet up that potential from these hybrid cattle, the herd that we have. So there is a huge investment opportunity to go into pasture land, the feed preparation, the feed, different types of feed, nutrients. So all that is coming into with the development of this dairy industry. Apart from that, as you know, that Sri Lanka again imports in order to improve our genetic pool of the herd. We import animals. We get our cattle from different countries. Still, we are in the process of developing it. So I think in the process that there is huge potential to go into the breeder farms, where we breed our own herd with better kind of breeding mechanisms and getting down the required level of semen, things like that, and then improve our herd. So this is another area which the investment opportunities are available. Apart from that, the byproducts. Now say, if you look at the waste of what is coming out from these farms is like gold today. Because such large volumes of that waste would not get from anywhere else. As an example, the waste of about 25 tons of waste material which is coming out from one of our farms is a huge potential it has to go into it. Apart from that, the waste is, when you really look at it, only the waste is solid part. But what about the liquid? That has a huge potential to add value and the investors to come in and look at it in a different angle. So this is the entire the value chain of this, the farming. And it is not only the production of milk, but basically you look at the other angles as well, and the investment opportunities, as I said, it's huge since we are in a very low level of us, in the currently. So that will meet the demand of this country, and for us to be self-sufficient, all these links have to get connected to move forward.
Thank you, Vinesh. as we are coming close to time, I just want to put the panel on a spot. In 2 minutes, in a minute, if you can tell why Sri Lanka is a country where we should invest in agriculture. We'll start with Jayanti.
Okay, one thing is our people who are involved in agriculture are knowledgeable and they are absolutely passionate about it. Already people who are involved in it have found success even in the global markets, and our products, not just only tea and spices, but also the vegetables and fruits in the processed form and also unprocessed form have already reached top class global markets. So the confidence is there, and there is so much incentives also involved in it. For example, there are concessionary tax incentives for people who are starting and working with agriculture from 0 to 14%, and then there is also the drive by the government itself, putting agriculture as an essential area to develop. The absolute necessity of having the infrastructure here is now also being addressed with road networks and all that. So logistically, the connectivity is also happening. So this is the reason why I would say that this is a destination to invest in agriculture.
Thank you, Jayanti. Dr. Ajanta, your views quickly.
Yeah. Now, if you take the two sectors, especially the food sector and as you see the spices, is a huge market from the other side of the world. So there we have ample opportunities for the people to invest and get into the agriculture, as she mentioned correctly, because the government support is there, government blessing is there, especially for the development of agriculture. So therefore, anybody can come and invest, because we will be giving all support from the ministry side for them to start their business or the cultivations, for them to have a very good better opportunities in Sri Lanka and to have better market opportunities what they have from the outside.
Thank you.
Well,
Prashant?
I can confidently assert that Ceylon tea is the world's leading tea brand, and to get that we have had over 150 years of experience, expertise, the total logistics, infrastructure, and a skilled and educated workforce supported by many educational and other related industries. And we did not reinvent the wheel, because we have the capacity and the ability to manage large-scale plantation enterprises. So I think it's a perfect place for investments, in particularly in exotic fruits, vegetables, fuel wood and forestry plantations, using the available infrastructure, knowledge and the expertise we have built up over 150 years of large-scale, successful commercial plantation enterprise.
Vinesh, for your views, please.
I think in terms of what I said, the demand and meeting the local needs, I think there is a huge potential to invest in Sri Lanka in all these spheres in agriculture. For the reason which was mentioned before, the expertise that we have, the know-how we have, and also the land that we have, and also the different climatic factors, the regions that what we have in Sri Lanka, is a place to invest. And also to use this underutilized or marginally utilized land which is available, which can be put into better use. And that can meet the demands of the Sri Lankan demand, and also that it can lead to exports from Sri Lanka.
So, as we come to the end of the session on agriculture, we heard some of the experts giving their viewpoints from their own experiences of having invested in Sri Lanka. We welcome you to take that opportunity to come here, partner Sri Lanka for prosperity and growth. Thank you very much.